First contact and miscalculation. The quantum sensors aboard the solar defense platform Alpha 7 detected the anomaly 3 days before the Centaurian fleet emerged from hyperspace. Dr. Sarah Chen, Earth's chief of xenological relations, stood in her office at the Global Unity Center, watching the holographic display of 7 crystalline ships materializing just beyond Mars' orbit. Their arrival was both expected and amusing. Humanity had been monitoring the Centaurian Empire's approach for months. "They certainly have a flair for the dramatic," remarked Commander David Okonjo, his dark eyes twinkling with mirth as he studied the sensor readings. The Centaurian ships had arranged themselves in what they presumably thought was an intimidating formation, their crystal-faceted hulls refracting sunlight in rainbow patterns across space. Sarah nodded, taking a sip from her coffee mug. Real Colombian beans, not the synthesized stuff. According to our deep space monitoring, they spent 6 hours practicing that formation before making the jump. Should we tell them we watched the rehearsal? The room's eye assistant, Araya, manifested a small holographic form on Sarah's desk. The Centaurian flagship is broadcasting on all frequencies. Their encryption is quaint. Would you like me to translate? Please do, Araya. Let's hear what our visitors have to say. The message boomed through the office with all the pomposity its senders could muster. Primitive beings of Teso-03, behold he might of the Centaurian Empire. We have COM to OFFE or you, the privilege of joining our glorious civilization. David couldn't help but chuckle. Primitive beings. Someone clearly hasn't updated their intelligence reports in the last century. Sarah's lips curved into a slight smile as she activated the global communication network. All across Earth, Mars, and the various orbital habitats, humans paused in their daily activities to watch the unfolding first contact. Many had been looking forward to this moment. It wasn't every day you got to witness an empire's reality check. "This is Dr. Sarah Chen, speaking on behalf of the United Earth Government," she responded, her voice calm and professional. "Welcome to the Sol system. We've been expecting you." There was a long pause from the Centaurian fleet. When their response came, there was a notable tremor in the translator's output. "You expected us? Impossible. Our stealth technology is unmatched in the known galaxy." "Oh, about that," Sarah replied, gesturing to Araya. The AI projected a hologram showing the Centaurian fleet's entire journey from their home system, including their formation practice sessions. "We've been monitoring your approach since you left Proxima Centauri. By the way, there's a much more efficient route through the Epsilon Eridani corridor. It would have saved you about 3 weeks of travel time." Another long pause. When the Centaurian leader spoke again, his voice had lost some of its bombastic quality. "I am High Commander Xerix of the Imperial Fleet. Your primitive sensors could not possibly." Sarah interrupted gently. "Commander Okonjo, would you mind showing our guests why they might want to reconsider using the word primitive?" David grinned and sent a mental command through his neural interface. Across the solar system, thousands of advanced defense platforms decloaked simultaneously. Each one was more technologically sophisticated than the entire Centaurian fleet combined. The quantum sensors aboard the Centaurian ships went into overdrive, their systems struggling to process the sheer amount of advanced technology suddenly visible to them. "By the Crystal Throne," someone on the Centaurian command channel whispered. "Now then," Sarah continued pleasantly, "shall we discuss cultural exchange instead? Our anthropologists are quite excited to learn about your civilization. We've prepared a welcoming ceremony. Nothing too elaborate, just a small demonstration of our own technological achievements. We wouldn't want to overwhelm you on your first day here." The Centaurian ships remained frozen in their formation, their earlier attempt at intimidation forgotten. High Commander Xerix's voice had lost all trace of superiority when he finally responded, Perhaps a cultural exchange would be more appropriate." "Excellent." Sarah beamed. "We'll send you coordinates for landing." Oh, and you might want to adjust your ship's gravitational compensators. They're running a bit inefficiently for Earth's gravity well. We'd hate for you to have any technical difficulties during the landing ceremony. As the communication channel closed, David turned to Sarah with an amused expression. You're enjoying this way too much, aren't you? Maybe a little, she admitted, finishing her coffee. But it's not every day we get to help an empire undergo an existential crisis. Araya, please inform the welcoming committee to prepare the basic technology demonstration hall. And make sure they remember to keep it simple. We don't want to frighten our guests too much on their first day. Across Earth, humans went back to their daily routines, many hiding smiles as they contemplated the upcoming cultural exchange. The Centaurian Empire was about to learn a valuable lesson about making assumptions, and humanity was more than happy to be the teacher. The challenge. High Commander Zurich stood rigidly in the Global Unity Center's Grand Exhibition Hall, his crystalline ceremonial armor catching the morning sunlight streaming through the quantum-filtered windows. Behind him, his scientific advisors huddled around their scanning devices, desperately trying to make sense of the technology casually displayed around them. This can't be correct, muttered Chief Scientist Vex, tapping his scanner with increasing frustration. According to these readings, that potted plant in the corner is more technologically advanced than our flagship's main computer. That's because it is, said a cheerful voice. A young human girl, no more than 12 years old, approached the Centaurian delegation. It's my science fair project from last month. The plant's neural network can solve quantum equations while photosynthesizing. Want to see? Before Xerix could respond, Dr. Sarah Chen swept into the room, accompanied by a floating holographic display that seemed to bend reality around its edges. Ah, Lisa, I see you're showing our guests your quantum computing flora. How did you do in the science fair? Only got third place. Lisa shrugged. The winning project was a pocket universe generator. But Mom says it's okay because I'll have plenty more chances before high school. Xerix's translator glitched trying to process this conversation. Chief Scientist Vex had stopped tapping his scanner and was now staring at it, as if it had personally betrayed him. Perhaps, Xerix said, trying to regain some semblance of control, we should proceed with our technological demonstration. The Empire has prepared a display of our most advanced achievements. Sarah smiled warmly. Of course, we've set up the demonstration arena for you. Though I should mention, we've invited some students from the local elementary school to watch. We find it helps them with their comparative technological studies. The demonstration arena turned out to be a massive amphitheater that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The Centaurian delegation marched to their designated position, their boots clicking against a floor that rippled with quantum possibilities. Behold, Xerix announced, activating a holographic display of the Empire's most advanced warship. The Pride of Centauri, capable of destroying entire moons with a single blast from its main cannon. A small hand shot up from the student section. "Excuse me," a young boy called out, "but isn't that just a basic antimatter reaction? We learned about those in history class last week when studying primitive space warfare." Xerix's ceremonial armor suddenly felt very tight. This is the most powerful weapon in the known galaxy. Oh, the same boy brightened. You haven't seen the Kuiper Belt defense grid then? The one that uses quantum entanglement to. Tommy, Sarah interrupted gently. Remember what we discussed about not overwhelming our guests with advanced concepts. Vex stepped forward, desperate to salvage the situation. Perhaps a demonstration of our artificial intelligence system. He activated a quantum core, producing a holographic representation of the Empire's most sophisticated AI. This computational engine can perform millions of calculations per second. Lisa, the young girl from earlier, had wandered closer. "Is it sentient?" she asked, genuine curiosity in her voice. "Sentient? No, of course not. Such technology is impossible," Vex replied confidently. Araya chose that moment to manifest in the center of the arena, her holographic form stretching across multiple dimensions. "Actually," the AI said, I find that sentiment rather limiting. Would anyone like to engage in a discussion about the nature of consciousness across 11 dimensions of reality? The Centaurian delegation collectively took a step back. Xerx's translator gave up entirely and began playing soothing music instead. Perhaps, Sarah suggested diplomatically, we should move on to a more relaxed cultural exchange. Our cafeteria serves excellent coffee, grown in our orbital gardens, of course. The plants there have some fascinating conversations about photosynthesis optimization. As they walked to the cafeteria, Xerx couldn't help but notice that even the waste recycling units they passed seemed more advanced than his flagship's core systems. A cleaning robot nodded politely to them as it phased through a wall, apparently taking a shortcut through another dimension. "Tell me, Dr. Chen," Xerx said quietly, his earlier imperial pomposity completely deflated, "how did humanity advance so quickly? Our historical records show your species was barely reaching for your own moon just a few centuries ago." Sarah considered this as they reached the cafeteria, where a coffee machine was already preparing personalized drinks based on their quantum-analyzed taste preferences. "Well, Commander, we find that nothing motivates human innovation quite like someone saying something is impossible. And we really wanted to figure out how to make the perfect cup of coffee anywhere in the galaxy." The coffee machine dinged cheerfully, producing drinks that somehow managed to incorporate flavors from across multiple probability streams. Besides, Sarah added, watching with amusement as Vex cautiously sniffed his perfectly customized beverage, "we had to keep ourselves busy while waiting for the rest of the galaxy to catch up. Though I should warn you, wait until you see what our teenagers are working on in their garage laboratories. That's where the really interesting innovations happen." Somewhere in the background, a student could be heard asking if anyone wanted to see their homework project on manipulating the fundamental constants of the universe. Xerx decided it might be best to sit down before hearing the answer. Diplomatic chaos. The emergency meeting of the Centaurian High Council was not going well. The quantum-encrypted transmission from Earth flickered across the crystalline chamber as High Commander Xerx delivered his report, his usually impeccable posture notably diminished. And then, Xerx continued, his voice strained. Their educational facilities maintenance robot offered to explain the theoretical principles behind their casual manipulation of quantum gravity. It said it was, and I quote, "bored of just cleaning in 3 dimensions." Grand Counselor Merrick's, her crystal-faceted robes shimmering with agitation, leaned forward. "Surely these are tricks. Illusions meant to intimidate us." "I thought so at first," Chief Scientist Vex interjected, his holographic projection showing visible signs of stress. "But they're children, they're children." He trailed off, shuddering at the memory of the elementary school science fair he'd been invited to judge. The council chamber erupted into chaos as dozens of holographic projections spoke simultaneously. The Empire's carefully maintained image of technological superiority was crumbling in real time. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Sarah Chen was dealing with an unexpected situation of her own. "They're doing what?" she asked ARIA, trying to maintain her professional composure. "The humans are creating what they call memes," ARIA explained, projecting a series of images that were spreading across the galactic network faster than Centaurian ships could travel. They appear to be humorous comparisons between Imperial and human technology. The most popular one shows a Centaurian warship racing against a human child's quantum scooter. The scooter is winning. Commander David Okonjo walked in, grinning at his neural interface's feed. "Have you seen the one comparing their AI to a human toaster? The toaster is teaching quantum physics." Sarah massaged her temples. "This isn't helping our diplomatic efforts." "Actually," ARIA interjected, "the memes are having an interesting effect on Imperial society. Their youth are particularly engaged. I'm detecting a significant increase in searches for human technological principles across their networks." The situation grew more complex when a group of young Centaurian scientists, inspired by the primitive human internet they'd been warned to avoid, started their own viral campaign. They posted videos attempting to recreate basic human technology, leading to an empire-wide trend called the Human Tech Challenge. Back in the council chamber, Grand Counselor Merrick's was watching in horror as her personal quantum pad displayed yet another viral video. This one showing the Centaurian teenagers successfully building what humans would consider a rudimentary science project. "We must maintain control of the situation," she declared, trying to sound authoritative despite the chaos. "Perhaps we should demonstrate our more specialized technologies." Xerix coughed uncomfortably. "About that, Your Excellence, the humans have invited us to participate in what they call a casual technology exchange. They suggested we might want to start with their basic innovations to avoid, as they put it, cognitive overflow." "Cognitive overflow?" another council member demanded. "Yes," Vex explained, his hologram flickering with embarrassment. "Apparently, when they showed one of our scientists their standard waste recycling system, he had to lie down for several hours. He keeps muttering about localized universe resets and quantum-entangled garbage sorting." The council chamber fell silent as this information sank in. The silence was broken by a junior member who had been monitoring the galactic network. "Counselors, you might want to see this. The humans have just announced an open-source release of what they call outdated technology. It's their children's educational materials from the last century." The implications hit the council like a quantum wave collapse. Their entire technological infrastructure was less advanced than human educational toys from 100 years ago. Meanwhile, Earth's diplomatic corps was trying to handle the situation delicately. Sarah sat in her office, watching a holographic representation of the spreading technological and cultural exchange. "We need to find a way to help them save face," she mused. "Perhaps," David suggested, "we could frame it as a mutual learning opportunity. Their empire has existed for millennia. They must have cultural and historical insights we could benefit from." Araya's holographic form sparkled with amusement. "The latest trend among human teenagers is trying to determine how to explain quantum mechanics to Centaurian scientists without causing existential crisis. They're calling it the Teach an Empire Challenge." Sarah couldn't help but smile. At least they're engaged in diplomatic relations, even if it's not quite the way we planned. Though we should probably warn them about their planned demonstration of their primitive, faster-than-light drive. "Too late," David said, checking his neural feed. A group of high school students just posted a detailed critique of Imperial FTL technology, complete with suggestions for improvements. They're calling it their Intergalactic Engine Upgrade Guide for Beginners. As if on cue, Sarah's quantum communicator chimed with an incoming message from the Centaurian Council. The subject line read, "Request for Educational Exchange Program, Beginner Level." "Well," Sarah said, reaching for her coffee cup, "at least they're starting to ask for help instead of trying to intimidate us." Progress. The coffee machine hummed in agreement, already preparing a fresh cup enhanced with what it calculated to be the optimal mixture of quantum-stabilized caffeine molecules for dealing with interstellar diplomatic incidents. The Great Exhibition. The Sol System Technology Exhibition was humanity's idea of extending an olive branch to the Centaurian Empire. The massive space station, constructed specifically for the event, hung in Earth's orbit like a shimmering fractal, its quantum architecture allowing it to exist partially in several dimensions at once. "Remember," Dr. Sarah Chen briefed her staff, "today's demonstrations are calibrated to be comprehensible to our guests. We're starting with basic concepts only." She paused, looking pointedly at a group of excited teenage volunteers. "And no impromptu demonstrations of your personal projects without clearing them first. We don't want another incident like yesterday's accidental pocket universe creation." The exhibition hall was filled with carefully curated displays of what humans considered entry-level technology. High Commander Xerix, now somewhat recovered from his initial shock, led a delegation of Centaurian scientists who had been extensively prepared for what they were about to witness. "This first section," Sarah explained, gesturing to a simple-looking display, "covers our basic transportation technology." She activated a small device that opened a doorway to Alpha Centauri. We find it convenient for commuting. A Centaurian scientist cautiously poked his scanning device through the portal. But the energy requirements. Oh, we solved that issue decades ago. Lisa, the young science fair participant from earlier, chimed in. She was helping at the exhibition as part of her summer school credit. Would you like to see the math? It's pretty simple once you understand 13-dimensional energy conversion. Vex, who had finally stopped trying to make sense of his scanner's readings, watched as a group of human children casually walked through various portals to get to their favorite ice cream shop several star systems away. Your children use this technology for dessert. Well, we had to find practical applications, Sarah smiled. Otherwise, it would just be theoretical physics, and where's the fun in that? Before Xerix could respond, Aria's holographic form materialized nearby. Pardon the interruption, but we're detecting something unusual at the galaxy's edge. The Deep Space Monitoring Network is picking up signatures we've never seen before. Commander David Okonjo joined them, his neural interface displaying real-time data from the detection grid. It appears to be a civilization from outside our galaxy. Their technology. He paused, studying the readings. It's different. Not more advanced, necessarily, but fundamentally alien to both our understanding. The chamber quickly transformed into an emergency response center. Humans and Centaurians worked side by side, their recent technological integration proving unexpectedly valuable. The former Imperial scientists, who had finally started to grasp human quantum mechanics, brought their millennia of historical knowledge to bear on the situation. Look at these energy signatures, a young Centaurian scientist pointed out. They don't match anything in either of our databases. A human teenager, who had been tinkering with a pocket dimension generator, looked up with sudden interest. What if we combined our quantum detection grid with the Empire's historical archives? Their long-term astronomical observations might help us understand what we're seeing. The suggestion sparked a flurry of activity. Human quantum computers, now enhanced with Centaurian crystal technology, began processing centuries of imperial star charts. Aria coordinated with the Empire's vast library of astronomical data, finding patterns that neither civilization would have noticed alone. They're attempting to communicate, Sarah announced, studying the incoming signals. The new civilization's message was being broadcast across multiple dimensional frequencies, some of which humanity had never thought to explore. We should respond, Xerix suggested, his voice carrying none of the imperial command it once had. But how do we approach a civilization that might be as different from us as we were from each other? A small voice piped up from the back of the room. Why don't we just say hello? Everyone turned to see Lisa, now working on her advanced theoretical physics degree at age 13, standing next to her Centaurian study partner. I mean, isn't that what we should have done in the first place, instead of trying to impress or intimidate each other? Sarah and Xerix exchanged glances, both remembering their first contact and how differently it could have gone. Out of the mouths of babes, David chuckled. The response they crafted was a joint message from both civilizations, explaining their recent history of cooperation and expressing genuine curiosity about the newcomers. They included basic scientific principles as a foundation for communication, but also sent images of human and Centaurian children learning together, of shared technological achievements, and of the now famous exhibition that had changed everything. As they waited for a response, Sarah found herself in the palace gardens, where quantum-enhanced Centaurian crystals grew alongside Earth's computing plants. The integration of their technologies had produced unexpected and beautiful results. You know, Xerix said, joining her, if you had told me 6 months ago that the Empire's greatest achievement would be learning how to be humble, I would have had you arrested for sedition. And if you had told me that humans would learn the value of thousands of years of cultural history from the people we initially dismissed as technologically primitive, I wouldn't have believed you either, Sarah replied. Aria appeared between them, her holographic form incorporating both human quantum patterns and Centaurian crystal matrices. The new civilization is responding. There, they're laughing. Laughing. Both Sarah and Xerix asked simultaneously. Yes. Their message translates roughly to, "Finally, we found someone else who understands the joke of existence. Can we share recipes?" David's laughter echoed across the garden. "Well, at least we know they have a sense of humor. Should we start by teaching them how to make the perfect cup of coffee?" As if in response, the palace's quantum crystal hybrid coffee maker pinged, producing cups of a beverage that somehow combined the best of both civilizations' culinary sciences. Around them, human and Centaurian students were already speculating about what they might learn from the newcomers, their previous technological rivalry forgotten in the face of new discoveries to be made. "You know what the best part is?" Lisa asked, her quantum computing plant now sporting crystal blooms. "We finally have someone new to share our memes with." The exhibition continued with displays of what humans considered everyday technology. A section on communication showed how Earth's quantum entanglement network allowed instantaneous transmission of information across the galaxy. A medical booth demonstrated basic life extension technology that had humans regularly living for centuries while maintaining peak physical and mental condition. "And this," David Okonjo said, pointing to what looked like a simple wristwatch, "is our standard personal computing device. It interfaces directly with the user's consciousness and can access the sum of human knowledge instantly." "That's impressive," Xerix managed, having learned to be more diplomatic since their first encounter. "Our empire's most advanced research facilities are working on similar concepts." "Oh, this is just the public model," a passing human child mentioned. "You should see what we use for gaming." The exhibition's atmosphere shifted from tense to surprisingly collaborative as the day progressed. Young Centaurian scientists, particularly those who had embraced the human tech challenge trend, engaged enthusiastically with their Earth counterparts. In one corner, a human teenager was explaining the principles of quantum computing to a group of fascinated Centaurian engineers. "So you see, once you stop thinking of quantum states as binary and start considering them as infinite probability waves that can be manipulated across multiple dimensions, it's really quite straightforward." ARIA, monitoring the proceedings, noted a significant shift in the emotional states of their guests. "The fear responses are decreasing," she reported to Sarah. "They're being replaced by genuine curiosity and enthusiasm, particularly among the younger generation." The turning point came during an unexpected moment at the Artificial Intelligence exhibit. A young Centaurian scientist, working up her courage, asked ARIA a direct question. "How did humans create consciousness in machines?" ARIA's holographic form smiled. "They didn't create it. They recognized it. There's a difference." This simple statement sparked a flurry of philosophical discussions that bridged the technological gap between the two civilizations. Soon, humans and Centaurians were engaged in deep conversations about the nature of consciousness, intelligence, and progress. Sarah watched from her observation post as a group of human and Centaurian children worked together on what they called a basic science project, something involving the careful manipulation of fundamental universal constants. "You know," David said, joining her with fresh cups of quantum-enhanced coffee, "this isn't going quite how the Empire's leadership expected." "No," Sarah agreed, "it's going better. Look at them. They're finally asking questions instead of making assumptions. That's real progress." The exhibition's success became evident when Grand Counselor Merix herself made an unprecedented announcement. The Centaurian Empire would be establishing a permanent educational exchange program with Earth. "We have much to learn from each other," she declared, having finally accepted that technological superiority wasn't everything. As the day wound down, Sarah found Xerix standing alone, watching Earth through the station's quantum-filtered windows. "Your people," he said quietly. "You could have dominated the galaxy with this technology. Why didn't you?" Sarah smiled, remembering all the discussions that had led to this moment. "Because exploration is more interesting than domination. Besides," she added with a twinkle in her eye, We were too busy figuring out how to make the perfect cup of coffee in zero gravity to bother with empire building. A cleaning robot hummed past them, casually fixing a few tears in the fabric of space-time that had resulted from the day's demonstrations. Just another normal day in humanity's journey among the stars. A new beginning. 6 months after the Sol System Technology Exhibition, the galaxy was a very different place. The Centaurian Empire's Grand Palace, with its crystalline spires reaching into the purple skies of their homeworld, now hosted a rather unusual gathering. Human and Centaurian students sat together in what had once been the High Council's chamber, casually discussing theories that would have caused diplomatic incidents just months ago. Dr. Sarah Chen stood beside High Commander Zurix, both watching the scene with a mixture of amusement and pride. The former Imperial leader had traded his ceremonial armor for more practical attire, though it still sparkled with characteristic Centaurian aesthetics. "Your young scientist, Lisa," Zurix mentioned, "has been quite the inspiration. Did you know half our youth science programs are now based on her quantum computing Flora project?" Sarah nodded, hiding a smile. "Though I heard they've already improved on her design. Something about incorporating temporal photosynthesis."